Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the Double Feature Podcast. I am here with Jake.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jake. I am from my channel is Jaker6 Gaming. We do all types of different gaming content, like we're currently playing through Stardew Valley.
Allegedly. So this is the first episode that we're ever recording, but I think it's the second episode that we're going to publish, so there's going to be a little bit of quality gap. This episode's probably going to be worse than the first episode that you see, and this trend is probably going to continue for a while because I decided it would be great if we just jumped around at dates of publishing and dates of recording. Anyways, we just finished watching Predator and Alien. What do you think about Predator and Alien?
Predator I personally have never seen before, and so I thought it was good, and I thought there was a lot of good action scenes and a very good suspense movie. And Alien, I've seen Alien before, saw it a couple months ago, and I think Alien is a masterpiece of film and one of the most suspenseful and sometimes scariest movies I've ever seen.
Are you saying that to suck up to me, or do you actually think it?
I actually think both of those things, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I'm the one who introduced Jake to Alien the first time that he saw it. The first time I saw Alien was almost exactly a year ago, and I just completely gushed over it. It's honestly part of the reason that I'm on YouTube right now is because of how much I was able to take in Alien and just completely fanboy over it, which is why it was a great movie for us personally to start with, even though it's not the first episode that is published. I think Alien, I think it's probably my top 5 movies ever, at least in my top 10. And then I didn't like Predator at all. I think I was very surprised that Predator's as popular as it is. Especially since it came out 10 years after Alien too.
Yeah.
So I'm very surprised that people respect it as much as they do. Just because of how unprofessional it is almost. It felt unprofessional for me with a lot of the action scenes. It was just the scenes were either them walking through the jungle or them just shooting at stuff, and there was almost no in between. And then the effects work also got on my nerves for a bit of the movie, where it was just what is this weird camouflage effect that you're going for, especially when compared to stuff like Alien, which came out significantly before.
Yeah, but I think comparing the two, I definitely feel like Alien probably had a bigger budget than Predator because there's just a lot more scenes that have been built and practical scenes, unlike Predator, which is set mostly in the forest. There's the one village scene where they blow up the houses, mm-hmm. But most of it's pretty much just in the forest.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there was probably less money going into Predator, and I think that's why some of the effects look cheaper and the rest of that. But I think overall it's still a good movie.
Yeah, so I guess we're already kind of on the topic of Predator, so let's take Alien completely out of the question. Let's just talk about Predator.
Okay.
What do you think Predator did really well, and what do you think Predator just didn't do well at all?
I think they did really well with the monster, the Predator. I don't think it has
Yeah, I think it's just called the Predator.
Yeah, I think they did really well with the Predator and how the good stalking scenes, and for a long time in the movie they didn't show what the Predator looked like, mm-hmm. and I thought that was really cool, especially with the camouflage. It didn't look that good, but I think the concept was really cool, and I think it just overall looked really good, especially the monster. I also liked the action scenes. It's a little campy, but I think all good action movies have good one-liners, and yes, they're not the best cinematic, but mm-hmm. I think it makes a good action movie. It doesn't have to be a good movie to have good action scenes.
I mean, I make fun of it all the time, but honestly, I was laughing right alongside you during every single one-liner and every single that one action scene where they were blowing up the village. I was just hysterical. I thought it was very entertaining. So I guess I'm in agreement with you where I think that most of the action, when there was action, was good. Well, not most of it. I really liked the action scene. I really liked that village action scene. I really liked the ending where it was just Arnold Schwarzenegger, whatever his character is, like
Dutch. Yeah.
Dutch and the Predator. That scene was great, but I feel like any of the other scenes where there's more people, the gunshots were really loud in this movie, and a lot of it because of the camouflage. I mean, intentionally, but they were just kind of shooting at nothing, and I feel like that kind of took suspense away from me. Whereas Alien, I'm not supposed to compare them yet, but anyways, Alien's really cramped because they're on this spaceship, but with the jungle setting, it's just they're just kind of shooting at trees.
I like that the gunshots were really loud. Unlike most movies, gunshots are actually really loud in real life.
Yeah.
And so I thought that brought me more into the realism of the movie, and that I thought the one scene where Mac is shooting at the alien right after he kills the one guy that had the big machine gun. I thought that was really cool how they did that, and that you could see Max falling into just like craziness, like an Alien, but like less so.
Yeah.
Just comparing the two. But I feel like that was a really cool scene about these guys are all killing my friends one by one, and it's getting to me. Like I'm just gonna splatter into nowhere. Hope I hit them.
Mm-hmm. I think I agree. I think that's one of my favorite elements of horror is when you have just the slow descent into madness. I don't know exactly how I feel about how Predator handled it. I think you're right that is Mac his name? The guy with the super huge guns and like the guy who first saw the Predator.
The guy that first saw the Predator.
In
that scene?
Who made it bleed?
Who made it bleed? Yeah, that was Mac.
That was Mac. Yeah, I like how crazy Mac got.
Yeah.
I feel like Mac really did have a good reaction to like there's like a extraterrestrial camouflage beast that's killing everyone and I'm gonna die. I really like that, and I did enjoy the scene where the two guys both like want to take revenge on the Predator and then they both end up dying. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I felt like that was cool. Just kind of like they're so crazy that they're just really rash and they don't really think these things through. They're really impulsive about how they go about it, and that kind of leads to their downfall.
And another thing that I liked more based on their reactions was there was different reactions for each character. Mm-hmm. Unlike Alien, how there's pretty much the same reaction, like, yeah. Oh shit, oh, sorry, oh no, there's a xenomorph, or not xenomorph, but there's an alien coming for us and gonna kill us. Everyone had, like, Dutch, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, had the reaction of, okay, I'm gonna outsmart it, and he was the one that lived. And then Mac had I'm just gonna try and go and kill it, the mad rush. And then there was and so I think there was different views of how they were gonna handle the situation. I thought that was more interesting than everyone having the same view in it as an alien.
Yeah. Now that you bring that up, I think there's probably more value in me rewatching Predator. Because at first I was like, oh, this movie's just overrated garbage. Like, I don't need to see this ever again. But now that you bring up, like, the different reactions, I might want to watch just to see that. Mm-hmm. I guess I'll talk about more of, like, the technical aspects, like the camera movements and stuff. I feel like, honestly, to be fair, I don't feel like there was anything that really stood out in either of the movies. Was there any, like, visual thing that you were like, that was cool?
When I'm watching a movie, I don't really focus on, like, the camera aspects and stuff like that. Oh. And so I didn't really pay attention to that part. I probably should in the future if we're going to do this podcast. But, I don't know. I feel like there was some scenes, like, I like the way, so the Predator was standing there, and then the camera was behind his shoulder as he was shooting at Arnold Schwarzenegger at the end when he's all covered in mud and he's standing on the tree.
Yeah.
I think that was a kind of cool shot. I liked the shot. I can't tell you why I liked it. I don't know if it was good or not, but I kind of liked that shot.
Yeah, I feel that. There was one moment in Predator where it's the guy who played Creed in Rocky. I'll show his face on the screen so that everyone watching can see. And it does a lot of tilts, like the camera is tilted slightly, and then it cuts between him and what he's looking at, and both shots are tilted, and it's like it's very disconcerting. It's like it makes you uneasy. It makes you very uncomfortable watching, which is the point of a horror movie. So that was very cool.
One more thing, going off the shots and more into the suspense element of the horror movie, but I liked Predator's use of music more. Like, it's overdone, I think, at this point, but I like the suspenseful music. I think that adds to the suspense of the scares or whatever.
Yeah.
Like how it was building up to it. Instead, I felt I was a little more scared when that was happening than in Alien when there was no music.
Yeah, this is something that you and I were talking about while we were watching Alien, because I feel like both of us have different reactions to horror. Like, there are certain things that both of us find creepier. Like, for me, and maybe this is because I have background in music, because I've been in band for a couple of years, I don't find music that scary, really. There's only been like one song that scared me, and it's been completely detached from any cinema, like, at all. But what does scare me is in horror movies when you know that something's watching the main character and it goes completely silent, and like you hear like the footsteps or the heartbeat or something like that, and when you just have that consistent noise, then you're kind of waiting in this anticipation for a big audio boom, and I feel like that's more unnerving than, to me, music. But I guess that's kind of weird how it's complete opposites, you and I, with that. So maybe did you like Predator or Alien more?
I like Alien more. I think Alien was a better movie, but I just think that Predator was also a good movie, and I like Predator as well. Alien is a movie masterpiece. It's one of the best movies of all time, and so I like Alien more, but I also like Predator.
Do you think that Predator deserves the pop cultural relevance that it has?
Not as much as it does, but I think it is definitely a good movie, and it's a lot better than some movies out there that have big pop culture relevance. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I got you. Yeah, okay. So, I guess moving from that, we can start talking about Alien a little bit more. So, I've already talked about how Alien was kind of the first movie that got me into film analysis, and it was really weird because I had this whole mindset before watching Alien about how, like, oh, I've never watched a horror movie before. I would totally handle it poorly. Like, I'd freak out. I'd panic and stuff like that. But after watching Alien, first I realized, oh, like, I've seen horror movies before, and this isn't really that scary, which was kind of like a victory for me. I think it opened up movies more. It's like, oh, suddenly I can watch anything and not feel that scared. But also, Alien had, like, themes, and I think the biggest thing, I guess, spoilers if anyone cares, the biggest thing that made Alien as good as it was the twist with it's like, what's his name, like, you know, the robot.
we'll put a picture on screen so y'all know.
I will look up the name. I can actually just look it up right now. You talk about the twist.
Okay. So, the twist was really, I guess, twistful? I can't think of it. Surprising. It was really surprising. Especially when Ripley is talking to Mother, and then the camera turns back to Ripley, and she leans back, and he's just right there. Like, you haven't seen the twist yet, but you start thinking about it a little more, and then when it finally does come, when he's beating Ripley, and then if you finally figure out he's a robot, that was crazy, and it got me the first time. And
yeah, it's Ash. Ash is the evil
yes.
Romani. Well, what really got me, and I feel okay. I need to really. I'm balancing a tightrope between like pretentious film criticism and like just liking movies, because sometimes sharing analysis of movies, it's fascinating, but I mean sometimes you're wrong, and that's really embarrassing when you're wrong, especially since I haven't like scripted this or anything. But when I had first seen Alien about a year ago, I got really obsessed with the whole like company versus individual, like how they sacrificed the entire crew just to research this alien life form, and how there was this kind of like evil curiosity that came from capturing this supreme hunter, even though clearly there's no victory in having access to a xenomorph. And then I think that Ash was kind of the perfect catalyst for that, the perfect way to solidify that, especially on second viewings, with Ash being the one who opens and initially lets Kane in, or the scene where Dallas is in the vents and it cuts to Ash just being completely lifeless, just kind of representing like a corporation that that has no care for human life and has more care for technology and power. At least that's what I took out of Alien.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you at all saw that.
Like I said, I'm not the best at like viewing like themes of movies or books. I'm not the most literary minded person out there. I'm way less literary minded than you,
I'm flattered.
Garrett. But I can take a movie at its face value, and I enjoyed the movie, and I thought there was some cool shots. Like, I like that shot, or I like that one, but
I mean, there's something to be said about that. There's a huge disconnect between like critics and general moviegoers. Like, you see all the time people exiting the theater after like a Marvel movie, and there being the normal fan who's like, oh, this is the new best movie I've ever seen. Like, you saw that a lot with Endgame. And then you have the critics who are like, oh, well, this completely sucked, that completely sucked. And there's kind of like there's a debate there about whether or not knowing too much about movies ruins movies. And I think this kind of applies to anything. Do you think if you could know more about movie analysis, would you choose to know, or would you choose to stay the way you are?
I think at this point I would choose to stay the way I am, because I have you, and that I would just ask you if I wanted to know something more. Thanks, Garrett. That's
Wow.
all you're useful for.
Wow, look at me, I'm blushing. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. Originally I had a similar thing where I would watch a movie and I'd be like, oh, this is cool. But then one thing led to another, and I started watching a lot of film analysis on YouTube. And I think that kind of got me thinking. And then I saw Alien, and then I also saw Whiplash. And those two movies really kind of turned that on my head, and I realized, wow, there's a greater appreciation for movies that's hidden under this coat of general audience satisfaction. Like what's something that happens in movies that you're like, I love that? Like, what's a trope that you love?
I don't know.
Okay, do you want me to go first?
You can go first, yeah.
Okay, one thing I love, so I love music, and I love it when music is used thematically. So think about, like, Star Wars does this a lot with motif, where it's like you first hear the Force theme when Luke is looking at the binary sunset, and then it comes back when Obi-Wan talks to Luke, and it comes back when Luke first uses the Force on Dagobah, and all these things. And when you hear the repetition, the same music idea, in a different circumstance, that really gets me giddy with excitement, especially when it's used to mean something, like how the Force theme is used to mean the Force. That's something that I really like about movies.
I still don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna say one more then.
Okay.
I really liked how some movies build suspense with using really close-up shots on faces. Like there are some shots that are really uncomfortable to look at, especially like depending on how you frame it. And I think both Predator and Alien did it, just to tie it back, where Predator did it really well with the final fight with Dutch and the Predator, where it was just zoomed in on his eyes and you couldn't see behind him, and how that kind of builds this I know it's right behind him, what's gonna happen kind of feeling. I really like that. Do you have anything? If you don't, it's fine.
I don't. I can't think of anything right now. There has to be something, but I just can't think about it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of one that, like, a trope that got me really happy, like 3 years ago, because I feel like that's when I thought less about like the thought process behind making it. Like with most works, with most things that people make, there's a reason for everything. Like with a book, there's a reason behind every single word. And once I started understanding that, and understanding that these just like surface level movies have meaning behind every single character and every single word and every single decision, my world was shattered. And I was like, wow, there's like a second movie here for me to watch. Almost. And then you have movies that don't do that, like, Ice Age Meltdown.
I don't know. I feel like there's some good movies that don't have like specific themes. One that comes to mind is Ocean's 11. I feel that it doesn't have like a big theme going towards it, or at least one that I can't think of.
I don't think it has a theme. I think you're right.
It's just a cool bank robbing movie. It's still a good movie though, and so I wouldn't discount that compared to something like Alien. I think they're both really good movies.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the reason Ocean's 11 is good, and maybe this is gonna ruin Ocean's 11 for you, but it's how they present the information and how they keep you away from the final twist. Like there is like this final twist in the heist where it turns out the SWAT people were the heist people in the heist, and they kind of cut back to it. But the reason that heist movie is so good is because of how they lay out the plan, and then they see the plan come to fruition. Just how they pace that is really cool. Like a heist movie is really like only one thing happens. If you really think about it, they rob a bank or they rob a casino. But how do you stretch that out across 2 hours? Like, really, if you tried to do it, it's crazy. So that's why Ocean's 11 is good. Is there's never a moment where you're like, I should be on my phone right now. You know?
Yeah. Which I think a lot of movies suffer from that. Especially for me. I don't really like rewatching movies. And so I usually, since I'm not very good at picking up on those small little details or themes going on throughout the movie, I think it's a little more boring for me. But my goal doing this podcast is to try to pick up on those things more and try to realize those. And especially like this movie, I had to go put my phone away from me so I don't go pick it up during the movie and get bored.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to stop talking through them too, because that'll help. I was only talking through them because of how I know Alien like the back of my hand now.
You didn't talk to him too much, though.
Yeah, not that bad. We did talk through Cooties a lot, though.
Yeah, if y'all don't know, Cooties is a pretty crappy horror movie that has Elijah Wood that played Frodo in Lord of the Rings and Rainn Wilson that played Dwight in The Office. And it's about these like kindergartners, like elementary school kids, become like zombies, and like it's weird and like yeah.
That was the first movie like recently that we watched like sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
And we halfway through the movie we stopped watching it and we started talking about this podcast.
Yeah. And that was more interesting than the movie. Like, I didn't enjoy that movie. I don't think it was very well made. And even I, the surface level moviegoer, can see that movie wasn't good.
Yeah. And I feel like it's interesting how we are now watching horror movies and that are good.
Yeah.
And Cooties is a tremendous example of a horror movie that's not good.
No, not at all.
And Cooties used stuff like the it getting quiet all of a sudden, or an overuse of gore. I don't think they had any significant jump scares, but like they used the same methods that Alien and Predator used. They just did them poorly.
And I think they did. They tried to build up to a jump scare and kind of be like, try to change what you're anticipating. Like, they built up to a jump scare and then just didn't have it. Which, for some movies, try to, like, there's a term for this that I can't think of. Subvert your expectations.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to, like, subvert your expectations with that. Like, oh, look, we're not doing a jump scare. But then it felt a little incomplete for that movie. Like, because there was one scene where they were building up to one, and then they just didn't have it. And I was like, they should really have a jump scare that, even though it's what we expect, I think it would have been better than the final result that they had. Mm-hmm. But now we're moving off topic. The other two movies. But I think other two movies...
It's the triple feature podcast.
Triple feature podcast. No, we are not doing that. It's the double feature, and we decided this already.
But we are going to watch Lord of the Rings, eventually.
Because that's just one movie.
Okay. So, I'm moving the subject off of cooties, and I'm going to talk about a trope in horror that we've already talked about it earlier. With... both Alien and Predator do this to some extent, and it's insanity in horror. What do you think about the portrayal of insanity?
I've watched like 3 horror movies, and we've just talked about all 3 of them. And so two of the 3 I've seen do it really well. I think Mac's character in Predator does it really well, like I said earlier, and I think pretty much the whole crew in Alien, except Ash, do it also really well. Mm-hmm. And so I think I have nothing else to compare it to, but I did like both those times. I think it showed a deeper level to their character when that happened.
So a lot of criticism that's given towards horror is about decision making. Like, oh, why'd you go into the basement? Obviously the monster's in the basement. And I think that some movies, I think Alien specifically, had a lot of very poor decision making. Like with the sticking your head in the middle of a egg. Like, does that ruin horror for you, or do you think it's justified?
I think that if you're going to have to watch a movie, I think you have to go off of what the universe's logic is. Like, this guy stuck his head. Like, I don't think you can, like, take away from that, kind of. Like, you can't say, oh, movie's bad because of this. I don't think that you should call a movie bad because of that.
Yeah. It is your turn to choose our next double feature.
Okay. So our next double feature, two of the movies are 2 of my favorite movies of all time. And so I want to do Chef and Ratatouille. And so Chef is probably my second favorite movie of all time, followed behind Jurassic Park. And so I like cooking a lot. And so I think cooking I think both of those movies are good cooking movies, and I think Chef especially is just a phenomenal movie. I think Ratatouille is also a phenomenal movie, one of the best Pixar movies, and maybe one of the best animated movies.
Easily the best movie about an anthropomorphic rat.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, I think we can agree there.
Don't make fun of Flushed Away though.
Oh no, Flushed Away is better actually. I forgot about Flushed Away.
You're capping.
Okay. Next podcast, stay tuned. We will talk about which is better, Flushed Away and Ratatouille.
We gotta wait till we can... Okay, we'll talk about it next time, guys. See y'all later. And remember, subscribe to Movies with Garrett, and we'll put the link in the description for Jaker's X Gaming. See y'all later. Remember, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification.